Learn how to make homemade Snickers bars. This is a no-bake recipe and it's delicious.
Let's see what's cooking. Let's get the facts. Let's see what's cooking. It's time for yoyomax12.
Hello everyone. Starting off with a medium-sized saucepan over low heat. You're going to place 1 cup of chocolate chips, 1/4 cup of butterscotch chips, and 1/4 cup of creamy peanut butter. You're going to stir this over low heat until it's nicely melted. These bars are actually in 4 layers, and this will be layer number 1 on the bottom. So I lined a 9 by 13 inch dish with some aluminum foil, and I used the non-stick heavy-duty aluminum foil, which is fantastic. It works great. If you don't have it, you can use the aluminum foil sprayed with a little bit of cooking spray. So once that chocolate mixture is melted, spread it around the bottom of the pan, and then put this in the refrigerator and allow it to set. Now onto the second layer, which is the nougat layer. Starting off in a medium saucepan over medium-high heat, that's 1/4 cup of butter, 1 cup of sugar, and 1/4 cup of evaporated milk or cream. And I'm using cream because that's what I happen to have in the house. And then cook this over medium-high heat until it begins to boil. And then boil and stir for an additional 5 minutes. 5 minutes is up, take it off the heat, and add to that 1/4 cup of creamy peanut butter. Stir that together and then add 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. I make my own vanilla extract and it is wonderful. It's so easy to make, so stick around to the end of the video to a link to that tutorial. Now add in 1.5 cups of marshmallow fluff. Now I know some of you may not be able to find this where you live, but for this particular recipe, it is an essential ingredient for the nougat layer. 1.5 cups turned out to be this entire jar, which is 7½ ounces of marshmallow fluff, also called marshmallow cream. Make sure that marshmallow fluff is well blended, and once it is, add 1.5 cups of coarsely chopped salted peanuts. And the salted peanuts are better for this because the combination of sweet and salty makes these bars delicious. I left some of the peanuts in large pieces as well because, as you know, Snickers bars have whole peanuts in them as well. And at this point, try not to just take a spoon and eat this because it really is delicious looking. Take that nougat layer and spread it over the top of the chocolate layer that's been set. So it's been sitting in the fridge until it is solid. Spread it around as evenly as you can and flatten the top out. And then, you guessed it, this is going into the refrigerator as well because this needs to set. While you're waiting for that to set, you can make the next layer, which is going to be the caramel layer. Now you need 14 ounces, which is approximately 400 grams of caramels. And these are the individually wrapped kind, so the hardest part of this is unwrapping them. Now I found when I was unwrapping these caramels is that these were extremely soft. I mean, they're really, really soft. They're softer than the normal brand I usually get. I usually get the Kraft caramels, and these were like a different brand. And I was really concerned about these caramels being too soft because the original recipe wants you to melt 1 package of caramels with 1/4 cup of whipping cream. Now, I thought if I added that 1/4 cup of whipping cream that these caramels would be way too soft and gooey in the bars, and the bars wouldn't be able to be cut properly. So what I did is I changed the recipe and I just melted the caramels on their own. I melted them for about a minute in the microwave, and then I spread it over top of that nougat layer that was set, that had been sitting in the fridge for a few minutes. Now for the top layer, we're going to repeat the same thing we did before for the bottom layer, which is basically a cup of chocolate chips, 1/4 cup of butterscotch chips, and 1/4 cup of creamy peanut butter. I stirred that around on low heat until it was well melted and combined, and then spread it over the top of the caramel layer. Then I put this back in the refrigerator and allowed it to set completely. I pulled it out of the pan using that aluminum foil, peeled the foil down, and then attempted to cut these. Now I realized immediately when I started to cut that caramel layer was hard as a rock. It was really, really hard to get through that caramel layer. And I realized I probably made a mistake and that I should have added the cream to the caramels, even though they were kind of soft. So just to show you what they look like in profile here. I mean, they looked okay. As you can see, they do look a little like a Snickers bar, and it did come apart for that first piece. but when I tried to cut these into more pieces, I was running into some big problems. I was running into the fact that when I was trying to slice, trying to get through that caramel layer caused the rest of the layers to get squished, and that top chocolate layer was detaching from that caramel layer completely, as you can see here. Detaching completely. I was getting squished nougat, and the bottom chocolate layer was sticking like crazy to that aluminum foil. As you can see here, I was very discouraged at this point that I had spent all this time and money on all these ingredients, and I was almost ready to toss the whole thing in the garbage. It did taste fantastic though, but the good news is that I put it back into the refrigerator, left it there for about 10 minutes, took it out, lifted it out, peeled all the foil off the bottom, and put it back into the dish. Then I attempted to cut it, and I managed to cut a few squares so I could take some photos. So those are the ones I managed to cut and take photos of that particular day. Now, as far as tastes go, these taste a lot like Snickers bars, very much like Snickers bars. The first day I found the caramel a little bit on the chewy side, a little bit on the hard side, but the next day when I tried to cut these further and I gave them a try, I realized that the actual caramel itself had bonded with the chocolate on the top, so it was no longer peeling, and the caramel had absorbed some of the moisture from the rest of the layers, and it had softened significantly. So actually the next day these turned out to be just perfect. So I would recommend you follow the recipe in the description box and add that cream to your caramel squares, and I'm sure they'll be perfect for you the first day, the first try. Now, if you want another Snickers type recipe, I have these Snickers Bars cupcakes that are to die for. Seriously, they are wonderful. And as promised, here's also a link to my homemade vanilla. Thanks for watching.